Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real quick. Men don't chase beauty. I know you've been told different. I know the world keeps flashing perfect pictures and filters and tells you that's the prize. But I'm going to tell you something better. What a man really chases is peace, purpose, and a woman who knows who the hell she is. Confidence is more attractive than beauty. That might sound surprising in a world that constantly puts beauty on a pedestal, but it's the truth. You see, beauty might turn heads, but confidence stops hearts. Beauty can catch his eye, but confidence will keep his attention. A confident woman doesn't need to be the most physically perfect one in the room. She walks in like she already knows her worth, and that is magnetic. It's the way she stands tall, the way she makes eye contact, the way she speaks with purpose, the way she doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. That energy, that's what draws people in. You can't buy that in a bottle or apply it with makeup. It comes from within. A confident woman doesn't seek validation from a man because she already validates herself. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She's not afraid to say what she wants, but she also doesn't beg for it. And the crazy thing is, when a man sees that she's not desperate for his attention, it pulls him closer. He wants to figure her out. He wants to know what makes her smile, what lights her up, what she dreams about at night. Because that kind of confidence makes a man feel like he's found something rare. Confidence tells him, I'm whole already. You're a bonus, not a requirement. And that shifts the entire dynamic. Now he's got to come correct. Now he's got to prove he's worthy of your time. When you lead with confidence, you set the tone. You decide the pace. You create standards without even speaking them out loud. And men can feel that. They sense when you know your value, when you carry yourself like a woman who's not looking to be completed, but complimented. And suddenly, it's not about your looks anymore. It's not about how thick your curves are or how beat your face is. It's about the way you make him feel just by being in your presence. Confidence shifts the power. It doesn't shout, it doesn't compete, it doesn't try to outshine. It just is. And when a woman lives in that energy, she becomes unforgettable. You could walk into a room full of models, but if you own your presence, if you're secure in your skin, if you speak like you believe in your voice, you'll be the one he remembers. You'll be the one he can't stop thinking about. Because confidence doesn't fade. It doesn't wrinkle. It doesn't need approval. It's timeless. And a woman who carries that within her becomes the kind of woman a man doesn't just want to date. She becomes the kind of woman he wants to chase, commit to, protect, and never lose. Don't act like you need him. Value your independence. That's one of the most powerful shifts a woman can make in how she shows up in a relationship. See, there's a big difference between wanting someone and needing someone. When you act like you need a man to feel whole, to feel loved, to feel valuable, you give away all your power. And the truth is, the moment a man senses that your happiness depends on his presence, he starts pulling away. Not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't feel the challenge anymore. Men are hunters by nature. They're wired to pursue, to earn, to fight for what they want. But when you place yourself beneath him emotionally, when you give him all the control, he no longer sees you as the prize. He sees you as something he already has, something that doesn't require effort to keep. But when you're independent, when your world is full whether he's in it or not, that's when everything changes. That's when a man leans in. That's when he starts thinking, how do I make room in her life? How do I become worthy of her energy? Because now he knows he's not the source of your happiness. He's the addition to it. You've got goals, dreams, routines, passions. You've built a life that you love, and you're inviting someone into it, not asking them to build it for you. That's what real independence looks like. It's not about being cold. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about knowing your life has value outside of anyone else's presence. When you show a man that you don't rely on him emotionally, financially, or socially, he respects you on a deeper level. He knows he can't manipulate you with silence, can't control you with money, can't shake your self-worth just by stepping away. That makes him step up. It forces him to be more intentional, more consistent, more committed. Because now he's dealing with a woman who's not going to tolerate anything less than what she knows she deserves. And you know what else? Independence is attractive because it signals security. It says, I'm not afraid of being alone. I'd rather be by myself in peace than with someone who disturbs it. That kind of clarity sets the standard. It's not about being unapproachable. It's about being unshakable. A man wants to feel needed, yes, but not in a way that turns into pressure or obligation. He wants to feel appreciated, not required for survival. When you bring your own table instead of begging for a seat at his, he notices. He sees the difference. He knows that if he's not careful, another man will recognize your value and step into the place he took for granted. Keep a little mystery. Don't reveal everything too soon. In today's world where people overshare every detail of their lives within minutes of meeting, there's something deeply powerful about restraint. It's not about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about protecting the parts of you that are sacred, letting someone earn access to your heart, your story, your truth. A woman who holds back just enough to leave a man wondering is a woman who stays on his mind. When you meet someone and lay out your entire life in the first few conversations, your past heartbreaks, your insecurities, your childhood wounds, you remove the layers that create curiosity. You give him the ending before he's even read the first chapter. And without that slow unfolding, without that discovery, there's no chase. Men are drawn to women who let them explore her like a book, one page at a time. Each conversation should reveal a little more, but still leave room for imagination. That's what keeps him thinking about you after the conversation ends. That's what makes him eager to call again, to text again, to plan the next moment with you. The mystery isn't about silence. It's about timing. It's about knowing that your energy, your mind, your emotions are valuable, and you don't owe them to anyone just because they asked. You share when you feel safe, when someone has proven their consistency, when someone has earned your trust. That's not being closed off. That's being wise. A woman who reveals everything too fast often gets taken for granted. Not because she's not worthy, but because she made herself too available too quickly. Humans are wired to value what requires effort. When something is easily accessed, it's easily dismissed. But when a man senses that there's more to you than what meets the eye. When he feels like every moment with you uncovers something new, he gets invested emotionally, mentally, spiritually. He begins to value your depth. He wants to peel back the layers. He becomes intentional about his words and actions because he knows he's dealing with someone who isn't desperate to be known, but open to being discovered. Mystery is not manipulation. It's self-respect. It's understanding that your vulnerability is a gift and not everyone deserves it on day one. It's about keeping some of your power for yourself while still being authentic. It's about moving slow in a world that moves too fast. And most importantly, it's about enjoying the process of connection without trying to fast forward to the destination. Because when a man has to work for your truth, when he earns each piece of you through patience and effort, he holds it with care. Make him earn your time, not your heart up front. That right there shifts the whole dynamic of any relationship. A lot of women fall into the trap of giving their heart away too early, too fast, just because someone showed a little attention or said the right things. But what really keeps a man invested is when he has to earn a place in your life, when he has to show up consistently before you give him your most valuable resource, your time. Your heart is sacred, your emotions are deep, and your loyalty runs strong. You don't just hand that out to someone who hasn't proven they're capable of handling it. A man will always value what he has to work for. That's not about playing games. That's human nature. When something is rare and protected, it's respected. But when it's available to just anyone, it's easily taken for granted. Time is the one thing you can never get back. So the way you invest it says everything about what you think you're worth. If a man knows he can call you last minute and you'll drop everything for him, he won't value your presence. But if he sees that your schedule is full, your life is purposeful, and he has to earn his place in that space, he'll rise to meet that standard. He'll plan, he'll prioritize, he'll pursue. And in doing that, he begins to see your time as something precious. You want to know how to tell if a man really cares about you. Watch how he treats your time. If he's late, inconsistent, distracted, or only shows up when it's convenient for him, that tells you everything. But if he respects your time, he's telling you with his actions that he respects you. Don't rush into emotional intimacy just because you're craving connection. Slow down. Let him prove himself in the small ways before you give him the big things. Let him earn the phone calls, the date nights, the deep conversations. Not to play hard to get, but because you are hard to get. Because your time has value and your energy isn't free. When a man has to earn your time, he naturally invests more of himself. He starts thinking more about what you like, how to impress you, how to show you that he's different from the rest. And that's when you'll start to see the real ones from the fake ones. The ones who are there just to take will disappear when the effort becomes too much. But the ones who truly see your worth will lean in harder. They'll make the calls, they'll do the work, and they'll stay consistent, not just to win you, but to keep you. Because you didn't make it easy, and in that difficulty, they found the value. Self-respect and high standards demand real effort. When a woman walks through life knowing exactly what she brings to the table, she doesn't tolerate half love, bare minimum energy, or someone trying to get full access without full commitment. A woman with self-respect doesn't lower her standards just because someone looks good, talks smooth, or says all the right things. She watches actions, not just words. She understands that if someone wants to be in her life, it takes more than attraction. It takes consistency, effort, respect, and follow through. A man can say anything, but self-respect makes you pause and ask, does his behavior match his promise? When you've built standards rooted in your worth, you don't get shaken by temporary attention. You don't get fooled by charm. You've outgrown the fantasy of potential and now focus on reality. You know what you deserve, and you don't flinch when it's not being given. The problem is, too many people lower their standards just to avoid being alone. But being alone with dignity is better than being in a relationship that drains you. High standards are not about arrogance. They are about alignment. You're not asking for too much when you require communication, honesty, loyalty, kindness, and emotional maturity. You're asking the right person to step up, and the wrong person will try to convince you to settle because your standards make them feel inadequate. Let them go. Your standards will scare off the ones who came to waste your time and attract the ones who came to add to your life. A man who truly sees you will not be intimidated by your boundaries. He will be inspired by them. He'll rise to meet them. He'll study them. He'll respect them. Because a woman who respects herself is a woman who's not easily swayed, not easily played, and not easily replaced. That kind of energy forces someone to bring their best, not their bare minimum. And here's the truth. When you raise the bar, you filter out the ones who aren't ready. You start to see quicker who's genuine and who's performative. Self-respect is a mirror. It shows others how to treat you by how you treat yourself. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't force. You observe, you decide, you respond. You lead with grace, but never desperation. That kind of presence demands real effort from any man who wants to be part of your world. He has to think, plan, pursue, and prove. Not because you're making him jump through hoops, but because you've created a life so solid, so full, and so rich that anyone coming into it needs to contribute, not just consume. You are not a stop along the way. You are the destination. And when a woman knows her value, she doesn't just let anyone enter her space. She watches who's willing to work to stay there. When you stop chasing love, it starts chasing you. There's something powerful about letting go of the desperation to be chosen and instead choosing yourself first. Too often, people spend so much time trying to prove they're lovable, trying to make someone stay, trying to convince someone to see their worth, that they forget love isn't something you force. It's something you attract. The energy you put out into the world is what comes back to you. When you chase love, you're saying you don't have it already. You're saying you're incomplete without it. And that energy pushes people away because nobody wants to be responsible for filling someone else's emptiness. But when you shift that energy, when you step back and start pouring into yourself, things begin to change. When you wake up and decide to fall in love with your own life, your goals, your growth, your healing, people feel that. That glow you get from peace, that joy that comes from being whole on your own, it pulls the right people toward you. Love isn't found in chasing. It's found in becoming. Become someone you admire. Build a life that reflects your standards, your passion, your purpose. When you do that, love becomes a bonus, not a necessity. You stop settling for the first person who gives you attention because you're no longer starving for it. You're full already. You've fed yourself self-worth, self-care, self-respect. And now anyone coming into your space has to match that energy. You stop attracting people who come to take, and you start attracting people who are ready to give. People who are drawn to your strength, your peace, your power. Not just your looks or what you can do for them. When you're not chasing, you have time to see things clearly. You're not blinded by the rush of wanting to be loved. You can actually evaluate who's in front of you. You notice the red flags. You feel the difference between consistency and charm. You don't rush into relationships just to fill a void. You let things unfold naturally because you're not in a hurry to be saved. You already saved yourself. That's what changes the whole game. People are drawn to confidence, not arrogance, not attitude, true confidence. The kind that says, I'd love to share my life with someone, but I don't need anyone to make it meaningful. That's when love shows up. Not because you went chasing it down, but because you created a space where it could find you. When you stop trying to convince someone to love you and instead love yourself so deeply that anyone who doesn't treat you right simply doesn't fit, everything shifts. You're no longer looking for someone to complete you. You're looking for someone who complements the joy, the peace, the strength, and the wholeness you already carry. When you act like the prize, everything changes. You no longer beg for love. You attract it. Confidence, mystery, independence, and standards are not just buzzwords. They're the foundation of self-worth. The moment you stop chasing and start standing in your power, the right people notice. They don't come to waste time. They come to match your energy. You become unforgettable, not because of what you give away easily, but because of what you protect. You stop settling for half effort, late replies, and mixed signals. You start commanding respect by simply respecting yourself first. A woman who knows her value doesn't fold under pressure. She watches. She chooses. She stays true to herself. And that presence, that quiet strength, is what makes someone chase her, not for a moment, but for a lifetime. Because when love becomes a bonus and not your identity, you become impossible to forget and even harder to replace.